Hi everyone, it's Fitz with your post-game walk and talk after Kansas State loses to Iowa State today here in Bramlage Coliseum, 74-73. Nigel Pack chunked in a three-pointer from just beyond half court for the final 3 points of the game as Iowa State escapes. They almost crapped the bed. They were up by 10 with 3 minutes to go, and they completely squandered that lead and got way too close for comfort for the Cyclones, but they did win. Before we get into the game and some of the things that went wrong and right for the Cats, let's look at the big picture, because that's what we all want to know right now. Bruce Weber threw his clipboard, not violently, just kind of down by his feet, but he tossed it. He threw it down with a little aggression after Nigel Pack's turnover on K-State's final full possession pretty much ended the hopes of the Wildcats. Iowa State went down, hit 2 free throws, got the 4-point lead, and they said Pack threw it in. Well, what's it mean? Well, Kansas State now slips to 500 on the season. They are now 6-10 in the conference, going to Texas Tech on Monday night. And that will probably be a loss, in all likelihood. Then they come home next Saturday to finish it off with Oklahoma. First, I don't see K-State bothering to schedule that bonus game because short of winning the Big 12 tournament, this is going to be really hard to work out the math for K-State to get into the NCAA tournament. This was all but a must-win for the Wildcats' hopes. They've just cut it too close as this season's gone on. In fact, it's probably likely, if you look at things, K-State at best will end the season with a 500 record and probably 7-11 in the Big 12, and that doesn't cut it. In all likelihood, that also means that Bruce Weber will be seeing his final season here in Manhattan if Gene Taylor sticks with his notion, his, I don't want to say promise, that you have to get to the NCAA tournament. This isn't hand grenades. Can't be close. Got to get in. What's interesting is the NIT doesn't really have any selection process other than they'll take the best of the rest. It doesn't say you have to have a winning record, but if K-State loses at Tech and wins against Oklahoma, they're 500 going to Kansas City. They got to win a game in Kansas City not to finish their regular season below 500. It's hard to see the NIT taking K-State, particularly if other Big 12 teams are available to kind of fill that Big 12 slot, even though there really isn't one. Nigel Pack was fabulous, and in fact on Sunday that will be my daily delivery about how special this kid is, and a lot of you are afraid that a departure or a firing of Bruce Weber will mean Nigel Pack will transfer, and I'll get into that with Sunday's daily delivery at GoPowercat.com. But for now, let's stick to this game, and it was a strange game. Kansas State got away early. They didn't score the first points, but then they slapped up a 10-point run or so early on. Iowa State rallied, took the lead. Pretty close at halftime. Iowa State's Caleb Grill, native Canton, threw in a three-pointer at the buzzer for the Cyclones to get Iowa State a 2-point lead at halftime. Then Iowa State just completely dominated the early phases of the second half and got up by double digits into the teens against the Wildcats. Couldn't close it out. K-State slapped Iowa State with a press that completely baffled the Cyclones, and Iowa State fans had to be really concerned that they were about to blow another game to Kansas State because the Wildcats made a furious comeback, got it within 2, and then just couldn't close it out. Into the gameplay, Nigel Pack gets the ball in the wing, gets locked up, gets kind of pinned against the baseline, or sideline. I don't know how he didn't step out, but it was right in front of me and he didn't. And Bruce Weber was wondering on his post-game radio show why there wasn't a foul call. Not really blaming that, he just kept saying Iowa State got really physical with him. I gotta be honest, I didn't see a blatant foul call. And I don't see why a ref would call that in that point of the game, but these refs stunk throughout the game, not for either team. They just were completely unpredictable in how they were gonna call the game. It's just the worst type of officiating when players can't adjust to how the game's being called. And Nigel ended up fumbling the ball away and turning it over. Had the ball in the right hands, but again, Bruce Weber just doesn't design a cohesive play at the end of the game and has a timeout. And as he sees Nigel in trouble along the sideline, didn't use that timeout, much similar to the end of game scenario. I believe it was at Iowa State when Marquise Noel just chucked up a horrible shot. This is a really disappointing loss. These two teams are very comparable. but it's that non-conference schedule, execution against like opponents in tight games that will get Iowa State into the tournament and send K-State to the NIT at best. I don't see K-State taking another tournament bid, the lesser tournaments, if offered. We will see how it all plays out. That's it from Bramlage Coliseum. Make sure you're following and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing to GoPowercat.com. Things are about to get interesting, I think, for K-State basketball. At least 3 more games on the schedule for K-State this year, including games in Kansas City. I don't think the Wildcats can win the Big 12 tournament. But if I learned one thing in my 10 years of coaching Bruce Weber, it's hard to count the guy out. He keeps rising back up and finding a way to keep his job. We'll see if he can do it one more time.